So hello with my guest in residence, as I've decided to call Melanie. Welcome to the podcast, Mel.
Thank you for having me again.
It's such a pleasure. It's always a pleasure. And also, I have given you an introduction. You have been here before, so we can kind of like just dive in maybe and talk
Sure.
about can't fuck this up. And I can't believe I
Yes.
swore. You're making me swear, and I never swear.
I'm
I
so
love
happy about that.
I love when other people swear, but I honestly always feel like that nerdy kid that's trying to be cool and saying it. But this
Yeah.
is the topic. This is what we're talking about. Let me just clue everyone in before you go into the topic why we're talking about this. So a
Sure.
few months ago, I had a online retreat inside School, my membership, and you ran a fantastic session that, and I say fantastic because it has been replayed so much, and I thought we need to put this out and share it with other people, because if my members like it, chances are others will love it. I love it. But I am not very tech savvy. I didn't know how to extract the audio. So I thought, you know what? I'll just get you on the podcast and then we can talk about it together.
Perfect.
So here we are.
It's always
Here we
better as a conversation too, because we pull things out of each other that I wouldn't have thought of on my own or you wouldn't have thought of on your own.
Yes. Oh God, but that was such a potent session because
Thank
we
you.
are in a time right now that feels, and you and I had a little bit of a chat before we actually hit record. It feels a little bit, on our bodies. It feels a little bit chaotic, perhaps.
Hmm.
We know it's good, it serves us,
Hmm.
but maybe if we talk about how we actually can't mess this up, can't fuck this up, it will give others sort of a bit of a understanding how to navigate even through this crazy time or any other time when they feel like they need to check or ask for permission.
Yeah. And I think that this chaotic time, messy is the word that I would use. Like it just
Mm.
feels messy out there. And therefore it feels messy in here, right? But the best time to lean into new practices and to really crack ourselves open and figure out what we're made of is when things are uncomfortable, when they are messy, when they are chaotic. And so, if for no other reason than to just dive into the mess to see what you're made of, like, how
Yes.
can that be a negative thing?
I love that you
Right.
said that, because you know how many times I hear people say, I can't meditate right now because life is hectic, or I can't focus on this because life is hectic, or the practices you gave me, I haven't really done them because things were just happening, stuff is messy, I can't do it. It is the best time, isn't it? It is
Yes,
the best time.
always. And
Mm,
I always, when with meditation, I always think of moms with small children. They will
mm,
often say, well, I can't because I'm with my kids 24/7. So I'm like,
mm.
meditate with your kids crawling on you. Like,
Yes,
what a great way to try and tune things out when people are literally
yes.
poking at you, right?
Yes, such a good practice.
Ah.
And the energy you will generate, the peace you will generate, and watch what happens to your children as you become
Mhm.
this vessel of peace and quiet, right? And just sitting there. I love it. And I always even say, you at some point during your day, you make your bed, or you have a shower, or you wash dishes, you fold washing, right? With children, without children, you
Yep.
start as a meditative practice. Now you and I have also practices that we do, like you with playing a ukulele, and I do my crocheting. So that's for us forms that are, in many ways, take us off that sort of have to do. There has to be an end goal, right? And it creates
Yes.
inner peace.
Yeah, and actually, it's funny you mentioned that because what I have found, I've only been playing ukulele since March. I turned
I
49 in
can't believe
March,
it.
and that was my birthday gift to myself. I'm like, I'm just curious about it, so I'm going to buy one and see what happens. And what I have found is that when I am stressed, if I have a stomach ache or a headache, like when I'm not feeling in alignment, if I sit down for 10 minutes and just play and sing, I feel better. And it's
Yes.
because when we are not feeling well, we're focusing on, oh, my stomach hurts, my head hurts, I'm exhausted, whatever it is. We are calling in more of that vibration. So it amplifies the negative sensations we're
Mm.
feeling. But if we can step out of that, we don't ignore it, we don't push it down, but if we can just, step aside and welcome in pleasure of any kind at the same time, whether that's crocheting, singing, cooking, dancing, it just takes the focus off of what we don't want and brings in beautiful space for what we do. And that can actually heal us.
Yes, and I love the keyword that you said. You started playing just because, right? There wasn't an end goal. You probably, when you got your ukulele, you didn't think, I'm going to join a band, I'm going to be the next, superstar, whatever.
Yep.
You just did it just because. And I think that's what we don't often do. We often tend to go, I want to do something because it'll give me our X result, right? Like, with the playing, and I can't believe you only just started in March, because oh my God, those of you who are listening, you have to go to Mel's account and watch the videos. Like,
Oh,
you
you're
are
being
like
generous.
so amazing. I always love listening to you when you
Oh,
are playing, because it's just, I can't believe it. So there you go. I don't know if you knew that you are so great and you are natural, but just
I
picking
don't feel
up
that at
that.
all. But and
But thank
actually,
you.
this would be a great story to share about what we're talking about, how you can't fuck it
Yeah.
up. Because again, it was just pure pleasure, pure joy, pure curiosity. And the reason why I started playing online was not because I thought I was good, because I still think, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this. But it's because I wanted to take another step further in being seen. And I can talk on camera, no problem. I can have conversations like this, like it doesn't faze me. But singing is something that I have enjoyed my whole life, and people have always criticized. Like, can you stop singing? That sounds horrible. Like, what are you doing? I know, right? And I
Oh,
let that stop me, not from
oh.
singing, but from singing publicly. And
Mm,
I thought, fuck it. It's
mm,
something that brings me joy. I want to share joy with the world. Right.
yeah.
And so I'm going to start doing it online.
Oh my God.
And I'd had the ukulele for 2 weeks when I did my first song. And I mean, if you go and look at it, it's horrible,
You
but
think that?
very
I love it. I'm sorry.
well, thank you. And I get a lot of feedback that people enjoy it, but I think they enjoy it because they know I'm enjoying it, not because I'm good. And that's the whole point. You don't have to sound good. You don't have to be an expert. You just have to show up in your authentic joy,
Yeah.
and that will resonate with people. Like, you can't mess that up, right? If you're being honest about it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I've got goosebumps because, number one, the way you love singing, I love dancing. Like, I love dancing. Um, but I had that, like, unless we were in a nightclub or whatever, I had that, like, I see myself on camera or whatever we're doing, or we're dancing, I don't know, somewhere. And I kind of always get very self-conscious, and I feel like I'm doing it wrong. There's someone that does it better. I shouldn't be dancing. I'm not a dancer, but I love dancing. And I've got this playlist that like brings me so much joy. It's like stupid 90s songs, but one hit wonders, but I love them. And I have been thinking for the longest time, I want to dance more. Like, I want to be seen, through that dancing is such a
Yes.
big thing for me. Um, and so you have inspired me now, but also I think what you said, this is number two, what you said about, people compliment you and think that you're great because you're enjoying it, right? Like, we don't
Mhm.
see, because we see it, however, but we see that you're good. We don't see that, oh, she's not really good, but look, she's having fun, look at her
Right.
go. Like, we just go
Yeah.
like, oh my God, it's amazing, because the energy you brought into your playing and singing is, I'm just going to sing because I love it. I'm going to play. I don't
Yeah.
care. There's no expectation. There's no, I'm doing
Yes.
this to be like the next whatever. And I think because you are enjoying it so much, that's all we are seeing. We're seeing how amazing you are at this, because that energy transpires, like it goes into it, right? And
It
and I think
does.
I think it's powerful, because when you think about artists, for example, they create a masterpiece, or writers, they create that amazing book. And then they feel the pressure that the next one has to be better because there's now this expectation on them, right? That it has to be better. Like people are watching and waiting with, freshly bathed breath. But actually, if they kind of go like, stuff it, the next piece is just going to be another thing that I
Yes.
love, and I'm just going to put it out. People love it, they love it. If they don't love it, too bad. I enjoyed the process of making it, as opposed to the process feels horrible because I feel like I need to entertain, or I need to put something out. Like, what do you think about this?
Well, I agree. Absolutely. I think because when we are trying to create, whether that's write a book, move our bodies, create a business, a new relationship, if we're trying to create with strict parameters of it has to be this way, we are in contraction. We probably are actually pretty tight in our bodies. And energetically, what happens, as you well know, is that blocks flow, that blocks creativity, that blocks abundance. And you're probably going to end up with a subpar product, outcome, whatever, not because what you did isn't good enough, but because you weren't really in it. And what makes anything magical is your essence in it,
Yes,
right?
yes, so
So if we
much.
can embrace, like, you're going to mess up. Not everything in your life is going to be your best work. And be okay with that. It allows you the freedom to relax, to give yourself a break, to play more. And that's when the universe recognizes that you are creating out of joy. And how can we support this? And then you'll get an idea that you would have had before, or all of a sudden you'll have more energy to practice, and then your skills get better, or whatever it is. But we need to open up. And the only way to do that is by dropping the expectation that we have to be good. Like, what
Yes.
if we could just be bad at something? I'm
Yes.
bad at a lot of things and I still do them. And again, I know I appreciate your words around my ukulele playing, but I feel I'm quite bad. But that doesn't take away the joy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? So I don't need to be good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure eventually I will become a lot better because I'm practicing,
Mm.
but that's not where I have to wait till I get to here to enjoy it,
Yeah, I'll start sharing, right?
right? Or start sharing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And isn't that process wonderful? Like you have a collection of videos you shared with me on your YouTube from when you started. And isn't
You're
it
gonna go
nice?
there, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, because I love the process. You know what I do? Every time I stumble upon a new account that fascinates me, I'm like, I want to follow them, or I am following them. I go all the way down. And I know right now we have so many photos on our account that it takes a while to get to the bottom. But I love going to the bottom, and I love when there's a journey at the beginning where it's the photo is heavily filtered, or it's in a dark space, or it's something completely different that they're doing now. I love seeing that story. And I never understood why people, whenever they are changing or transforming or rebranding, why they actually delete these photos or archive them so you can't see the traces of where they started. I love seeing where people started. I love seeing that they're not this polished, perfect self, now that they had a journey that started at ground zero, right? Like I love seeing that. And I think for myself, even my journey, like I love seeing that as well, because it shows you I've made progress, right? Like, wow, look how far I've come. Not that that's better or worse, but it's nice. It's nice to see that we are ever changing, ever moving, things are happening. And I love that process. I love the journey
Yeah,
for
I
things.
love that practice. I'm going to borrow that and start scrolling down to the bottom of people's
It's
profiles
really
now.
hard now because people have like a gazillion photos, but like
Yeah.
I still do it. I still want to go, like, I want to go all the way to the bottom. Like, TikTok, I want to go all the way to the bottom. I want to see how they started. What was that first video like? What did they share? And to me, it's never cringy. Like I never go like, oh my God, that was awful. Thank God you're here now. Like I always go like, I really appreciate that because it makes us feel like these perfect, seemingly perfectly polished people, the end product here, end product right now,
Yeah.
had a beginning, had a start that is perhaps where we are now, or where we,
Yes.
are stuck on, and we think, well, no one else as cringy as we are now. Like, with my crochet, it's interesting because like I always loved knitting or crocheting, but it was always with an end point in mind. It was always
Okay.
like I had a label, I was making bags, I was selling something. And I never really enjoyed when I got an order, make 10 beanies, the same beanies, because I'm like, oh, that feels so. And then like you have to check and you have to make sure that it's the same. So for me it was really interesting because I kind of loved it, but I didn't love it like this, right? And so when I started listening more to like, okay, what brings me actually joy? What brings me that bliss? And I just want to crochet, right? Like, I just want to be like, if I could just keep making this one blanket and it will just keep growing so I can focus on just emotion, that will be fine. And that's how like I stumbled on this freeform crochet and then like putting things up, which I know people think, okay, well, that's nice for the community doing something nice, but it's very selfish because it's a reason for me to kind of do something. I'm hanging it up and I genuinely don't care if someone tears it down and says this is horrible. Like, I
Yep.
really don't care because I'm like, I had so much fun making it. I had so much fun hanging it up and just standing back, taking a photo. I'm done. Like my part is done. And then the
Yep.
rest is sort of like, whatever reaction people have to it, I go like, well, that's art for you, right? You're supposed to have a reaction. And sometimes the reaction is, I need to tear this down and burn it, right? Like
Yeah.
it has
And I
happened.
think exactly what you're explaining. It's the key. I don't want to say it's the key to happiness, but maybe it is really the key to happiness is that when you are simply doing what makes you happy and disconnecting from the expectation of any particular outcome, nothing can really go wrong,
Yes, yes. Do you know why I
right?
loved your session so much? And we're going to go into the meaty bit of that. But the reason I really loved it, Mel, is because as humans, we are taught from the very young age that life is hard, you have to work hard, expect the worst, don't have high expectations because you'll be disappointed. So everything is just, blah, heavy, hard, So when you say to someone, I just want to, you know, I just want every day to feel like holidays. I want to be happy. I just want to do the things I love. They're like, well, that's not how life works. You can't just do what you like. You got to work hard. And in your session, you have actually given us permission through that. So through that, Posty came. Sorry, everyone. This is the real thing here.
Exactly. You
My
can't
chihuahua
fuck it
came.
up. It's all good, Kasha.
Yeah. If we needed tangible proof. So
Yep.
yeah, so you've given us kind of like this permission slip to go like, you know what, this way or that way. It's all good. It's all fun. And it's okay to strive for happiness and joy because life will throw you curveballs anyway, right? So why add on to it by making yourself miserable and going with what you think you ought to be doing?
Yeah. Well, when we're moving through life with shoulds, right? We
Mm,
should do, or trying to meet the expectations of others or worrying about the opinions of others. That's not pleasurable. I don't think anyone finds that pleasurable. And a lot of this hinges on my belief that we're going to end up where we need to end up, no matter what. No matter what choice we make, no matter what relationships we have, no matter any of the things that we do. And I believe what is up to us, what differs is the path that we take to get there.
mm,
So if I'm going to end up getting everything I need out of life, right? I believe the universe always provides us what we need. And I can trust in that. I can take the path that's harder, or I can take the path that's easier. One isn't better or worse, they're just different paths. But I often see people choosing the harder path, almost consciously at times, because they think they are earning it, right? I worked so hard for this. I deserve it. I'm worthy of pleasure, of joy, of success, of abundance because I worked so hard or I overcame so much. And yes, that's true. Absolutely. But the person who just takes the easier road and stops and smells the roses and has more pleasure in their daily life is just as worthy, just as deserving. And again, ends up exactly where they need to be. So personally, I just rather not take the hard road. That's really what it comes
Yes.
down to,
Yeah.
right?
So what, in your opinion, belief, would constitute the harder road? Like, what are we talking about? Does it like come down to working harder, building resistance because there's that easier path? Like, what if we could give an example, for example, what would that look like?
An example I would love to share is the one that you and I spoke about before we started recording about business. Both
Mm,
of us are entrepreneurs, and both of us have witnessed, as probably everyone here listening has, all of the, how do I put this? The considered right way to do business, right? To focus on your numbers, to follow the analytics, to sell, 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 to make sure you have a sales funnel. Like there's all of these things that are meant to be
yes.
done. And that's the only way that you will have a successful business. But that's not fun for us. The way
No.
that we do business, like that's not fun. And I'm not going to lie, I went down that road. I tried it. And
Yeah,
guess
me
what?
too.
I did not have success in my business. And when I finally got to the point where I'm like, this isn't fun. I don't want to show up this way. I'm just going to do it the way that feels light for me. That's when my business started to grow. And it's kind of like the ukulele playing or the crocheting. It's not because of what I'm doing, it's because of the energy I am in when I am showing up. If I'm
Yes.
showing up in all the right places, going, oh, this sucks,
Yes.
who's going to want to work with me? Right? But if
Yes.
I'm showing up here and there when it feels good in the ways that feel good, and I am so excited to be there, like here, having this conversation with you, and
Yeah.
someone hears that, they're going to be like, oh, that's something that I can get on board with. It's about
Yes.
the energy, not the action.
Oh my gosh, you've hit the nail so hard on the head. Yes, because it's interesting to me how, and I've gone down that path as well, and this fear was created in me, like you have to have a story every day. Don't let that little plus sign appear in your little profile picture. If you don't post on a regular basis, people will forget about you. And the thing is, that wasn't true. You can post every day and people still will just not come because your energy is stifled, and it comes from a place of, I have to be here. I have to tell you this, because if I don't post this silly video, you're not going to like me or you're not going to follow me. And
Mhm.
also at the same time, what I've noticed is that it's okay if I don't post for a few days. People don't miss me particularly. They're not
Oh, we
going,
miss you.
well, no, but no, but like no one's going
I
like,
know what you
whoa,
mean.
she hasn't posted. Well, she's very inconsistent. Where is she with her stories, right? Like I feel like there's so much noise out there that like, you will stumble upon me when you need to. And, maybe if you check in and I'm there, beautiful. But if not, it's all right. The world is not going to fall apart. And for me personally, I think, again, we spoke about this just before we hit record. Since last Lionsgate, I really felt more called to be in that playful energy, but also to show more of that playful energy, um, and to really follow it, even if it doesn't make sense business wise or to
Mhm.
someone watching. And then it's an interesting thing happens because the last few weeks, when I was doing sessions with clients who came for business advice and they felt lost or they don't know, like they feel stagnant, it was interesting for me to see that the guidance that was coming through for them wasn't, okay, create content, batch your content, do this step, do that step, show up at this time, post this many times, create a sales funnel. It was more around, well, what energy are you in when you're doing this? Does it feel good for you? Like, do you
Mm.
want to be doing this? Like, like tune in and see between option A and option B. What do you want? There isn't like what's better. So they would say, should I focus more on the corporate job or my side hustle? And they were saying in the Akashic Records, bring it back to you. Sit with yourself. feel into what feels better for you, like what feels as in more pleasurable, more enjoyable. Where's that bliss and happiness? That is the path you should take. And it's interesting, because often then we go like, yeah, but how do I know for sure that's the right path? What if it's not my intuition? What if my head is saying this way and it's not the right way, right? And that's where your session was so potent with that you can't mess it up.
Yeah. So what if you do make a wrong choice? Now, I don't believe in right or wrong. You know this. Right and wrong are human constructs created to control people. Like, I really believe that's what it is. It's a judgment and it's an opinion, right? That's all it is. And we choose to live our lives based on basically the opinions of others. So first of all, I don't believe in that, but let's just use the word wrong for argument's sake. Let's say you make a choice, it's a horrible choice, and everything goes wrong. So what? Like, it's really not that big a deal. I guarantee you're going to learn something, even if that something is, I'm not going to do that again, even if that's the only lesson you get, there's going to be some gold for you in there. And what I have found is when I make the choices in the moment that feel in alignment, and then it ends up with an outcome that is not what I was aiming for, if I can stay open, if I can stay in gratitude, and if I can stay curious, I always find something better than what I was aiming for.
Yes.
Right. But most people miss that because they make the mistake. And then they turn inward, they constrict, oh, this sucks. I should have done something differently. How do I get out of this mess? Again, that blocks the flow of the universe coming in to support you. But if you can almost like lean back, open up, what is here for me? You're going to find something amazing.
So on the same page. Yes, absolutely. And I agree that the way we tend to assess a situation is always good or bad. This was good for me, this was bad for me, right? I love this little story. I've shared it a few times in my membership. There was this farmer who had this one son, and he had this one horse. And one day the horse disappeared, and all the people, the neighbors came and said, oh, you poor thing, you've lost your last horse. How are you going to plow the field? And that's so bad, that the horse ran away. And the farmer goes, good, bad, who knows? A few days later, the horse comes back with a whole herd of horses. So all the neighbors come, you lucky, look at all the help you will have. Now you've got all these amazing horses, you can sell them, all this. That's amazing. That's a good thing. This is good, bad, who knows? And then his son attempts to tame one of the horses, jumps on the horse, falls down, breaks his leg. So again, neighbors come, oh my gosh, your only worker, your strong son, he fell down, he can't help you now, you're going to have to do everything yourself. Winter is coming, what are you going to do? This is terrible. He goes, good, bad, who knows? And then the army came recruiting young men, and they saw his son with a broken leg and go like, okay, we can't take him. So they moved on. So the neighbors go like, oh, you're so lucky. That's amazing. He broke his leg and now he doesn't have to go to the army. So when his leg heals, he'll help you around the farm. You are so lucky. And the farmer again goes, good, bad, who knows, right? We never know.
We don't.
What the situation is. So we judge it, but we don't know how it will serve us.
And we judge it because we want to have some semblance of control over our lives. Right? That's a fear-based reaction. I have to label it so that I know what it is, so that I can create a plan for next step so everything doesn't fall apart. But again, along the same vein, what if you let everything fall apart? People are so afraid of that. But what if you just let that happen and that wasn't a bad thing? You would find something amazing in there too. So again, whatever choice you make in your life, there's going to be something in there for you. And not only something for you, but something that is meant specifically for you. Like, the universe has unlimited ways to bring you what you need. And if you want abundance, it's not just money, right? There are so many other ways that can come in. And the more that we label, the more that we judge, the more that we control, the more we limit those available options.
Yes. Yes. And I think your mind, or our minds, can really only, they operate from a very limited pattern. Our mind, as much as we can sit and brainstorm and try to anticipate or predict through our analytical mind the outcome, it is always limited to past experiences, the knowledge you have acquired, memories maybe, right? So you're working from a very limited pattern, whereas the universe, like you said, Mel, has unlimited ways of bringing you something. So whether we are trying to manifest something, let's say abundance, and we focus, no, it has to look this way, it has to come through this way, that's how I'm going to envision it. And if it doesn't come through of the exact amount, right down to the cent, doesn't show up, then that doesn't count, right? Like, we put these limitations on. But if you just step back, surrender, and just go like, just let the universe bring you that. And even in the messiness, even when things are falling apart, and you've touched on this, I found this as well. There's usually on the other side something bigger, something better, but you had to perhaps go through it because you chose not to take the short path.
Yep.
Right? You had to go through this, you had to learn and grow. And now on the other side, you've got this. So sometimes things will fall apart, but it doesn't mean that it's bad. It doesn't mean that you've made a bad decision. And I think the worst, for us humans, the worst feelings that we can engage with, and I say worse because they can amplify and just drag us down, is when we feel guilty, when we feel bad, when we get angry at the decisions that we've made, or angry at ourselves, when we start to judge ourselves, right? Because then again, that focuses on this instead of, all right, what's the lesson here? Let me learn, let me take from it, and now shift your focus to what you want, right? Or what is the next path?
And what I think is really important to do as well is to just even witness what is before you jump to what you want. Like, you can, this is actually a really great practice, I find, to help move you out of judgment and into just acceptance. And let's say you fall off your bike and break your leg. Well, you can be like, oh my God, I broke my leg. Now I'm going to have a cast. I'm not going to be able to swim this summer. I can't ride my bike anymore. Like, blah, blah, blah. All that's true, right? You can go down that path if you want. Or you could say, I broke my leg. End of story. I broke my leg. That's where you are right now. So that's where you start from, right? Let go of all of the stories that you're carrying from what could have been different. That's weighing you down.
Yeah.
Right? It weighs you down physically. A lot of people I see with exhaustion because they are constantly ruminating over what they could have done differently. But if you just start from where you are right now, this is where I am, stop looking at what could have been and move forward, all of your energy is now poised on creating something new, right? You're no longer tethered to the past.
Yes. Powerful words. Yes. And isn't it
But
also, sorry.
sorry,
Continue.
I was just going to say, but
Yeah.
if you do choose to ruminate on the past and go back, you can't fuck it up, right? Our conversation, because then what will happen is you will get heavier and heavier, and you will get more mired in that energy. And that is going to bring you into a place where you are going to see things differently. I really need to change. This really isn't working for me. Like, sometimes our beautiful souls like to repeat the patterns again and again and again. And sometimes when we are in human form, we really need to go down. We need to go low. We need to hit rock bottom. We need to be cracked open, right? And that doesn't always happen through high vibe positivity. And if we can, again, allow ourselves to take that path when needed, we are given a fresh start and we can move forward more quickly and into different frequencies and vibrations that wouldn't have been available had we not gone there. So even if you go the path that seems harder, heavier, longer, you're still going to get what you need. You're not going to miss the lesson. You're not going to miss the job. You're not going to miss the relationship. Like, whatever is meant for you is going to find you, no matter
You're
what
just going
path
to
you
heal through it. You're going to let go
take.
of heaviness, possibly. And
Right.
you will end up where you need to end up, perhaps having taken the longer path or harder path. But I think then, isn't it interesting? someone, let's say you say to them, okay, so you've fallen down, you've broken your leg, or when you fall down, break your leg, maybe don't focus on this, just acknowledge, okay, I've broken my leg, and let's reshift or focus on what's next, right?
Right.
And then they went the other way, and then they come back and they say, oh, I've done it again, I feel so terrible, I was actually focusing on this and it was so bad, I can't believe I'm so stupid. So then we feel bad about feeling bad, and we feel bad, and then we feel bad, and that grows, that is that amplifying. So it's again, can't fuck it up. But do you see how we're expanding the road? Like, we're making the road actually longer, also, is
Yes.
what I'm trying to say. So I think what is really important to know is that at any point, you have control over how long the road will be, because you can decide, right now, I'm just going to stop. I'm not going to feel bad. Okay, I've done this. I felt this. I felt bad about feeling bad. Okay, center, shift. And that's what I feel meditation helps, or just a moment to kind of go within, because you're going like that, like, you're swiveling from left to right. You're going like, oh, I feel bad. I feel bad. Take a moment to slow down, hold your energy steady, just go within and just go, deep breaths, deep breaths. Not happy with this. I see what happened. I don't really like engaging with this so much, but where do I want to go? And just shift in that moment, as in, like, choose to shift your focus, I think, to where you want to go, right? But you need almost that sort of something that will stop this madness, let's say, and go, okay, shift over. And no one can do it. You can't do this for your clients. I can't do this. We can't force anyone. We can't make anyone. We can't make anyone feel, and I don't know if you've experienced this with your clients, but I often have clients apologizing to me for letting me down. And I said, well, this has no impact on me. We're the neutral parties. You have to be okay with this decision. However long you made your road, you have to be okay with this, and then just choose different if you want different. How do you see this?
I think the biggest thing that would be helpful in that scenario is compassion and grace for yourself.
Yes.
Right. I mean, I've taken the long road many times. I will probably choose the long road again at some point. It is part of my journey. It's part of my experience. And to be honest with you, I don't regret any of it, because that's why I can do the work that I do today. I tend to work with people with a lot of trauma, a lot of sexual abuse, childhood abuse. And the reason why I can hold that space for healing is because I've been there and have healed it. And if I didn't take that road, right, I wouldn't be where I am now. And right now I'm really happy and I love my life. So it's not that I think that everything happens for a reason. I think that that can sometimes be oversimplified. There are certain things that happen that I can't give a good reason for, right? However, I believe we can choose to find a reason, a purpose, a lesson in every single thing that happens. That's a choice that we get to make.
Yeah.
And if we
Yeah.
can have grace, okay, yeah, I picked the long, hard road. Okay, I'm human. I made mistakes. I did the best that I could. We all do the best that we can with
Yeah.
where we are and what we know. And I'm going to try to choose differently. And I think it's
Yes.
important to have compassion in that too, because you and I are talking about, okay, I'm going to choose differently. I'm going to start fresh and I'm going to move on. And we can do that because we've been doing this work for a long time. And sometimes someone, I hear this a lot actually from clients, I really want to, and I'm trying and it's not working. But that's okay because you're trying, right? That's
That is
enough. So
powerful.
give yourself grace if you're just
Yeah.
trying to get there.
Yes. Yes.
There's value in that. There's purpose in that. And you're going to get to the end, that end point that we're talking about. And you're going to look back and go, okay, I can see what that gave me. What gift was in that?
Yes. But I think also, again, we have been taught that it's okay to to cut yourself some slack, because that makes you unproductive, lazy. What will happen, right? Like, if
Yeah.
you constantly, cut yourself some slack, you will become unpredictable to people, right? That's what the fear
Yeah.
is. because they no longer can figure you out, because there isn't, because you do something, you mess up, for yourself, and then you cut yourself some slack, which is interpreted perhaps as you don't give a damn. But that's not true. It's just that we tend to be so harsh on ourselves. And even in those moments, as we're choosing over and over that longer road, again, that is okay. It serves us. However long you need to stay there, you stay there. But also know on the other end that you give yourself grace. You accept that, okay, it's taking me longer. I keep trying. I love that word. I keep trying. And then also know that you can choose the shorter. You can shift. You can actually do it. You can choose that. No one else can do it. You have to actually decide. And again, if you don't fully accomplish it, it's okay. We cut ourselves some slack. It's like this spiral, beautiful spiral that we tend to go in. And I think what makes it bigger and harder is when, like you said, we don't give ourselves grace. We don't acknowledge that trying is okay. And instead, we kind of amplify it because we tend to choose to go into the guilt, the feeling bad, then the feeling bad about the feeling bad, right? And there's so much beauty out here. And sometimes the easiest way to choose the different path when you're feeling bad is actually to bring it back to what brings you joy and happiness. What is
Always.
it? Right? Even just go like, okay, my mind is now spiraling down because I fell down and I broke my leg and I'm going into stories and I'm going to keep going into stories and I feel bad. How about I just pick up my ukulele right where I am and I'm just going to play my ukulele and sing, right? Interrupt the pattern.
Yeah. And a pattern interruption is so important. I would love to talk more about that. One thing I want to share first, though, what this reminds me of is if you think of a superstar, like, an actor or a singer or whatever, who they call an overnight success, right? And this is what we're fed a lot in media. Like, this person was instantly famous and this person's their first movie, they were amazing. But there are probably no exceptions to the fact that that person tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed and tried a different way and had a little bit of success, then had a lot of success, then went backwards. Like, it's a up and down, up and down. But oftentimes, and this is why I like to show up flawed and not just when I feel really good, because when we aren't sharing that part of the journey, it gives the impression to people that you're just instantly perfect, you're instantly successful. But there's so much more. You did all of this work so that, boom, that one song took off or that one movie was a massive hit. But that's not where the story started. It's like you going through all of the photos. That's where the story started.
Yeah.
So we have to remind ourselves that the journey that we are having, everyone else is having their version of it.
It's so
It's
powerful.
okay to share that, right?
Yes, it's okay. And that's why I hope more people will leave their awkward first attempts of, trying to figure out Instagram or TikTok or whatever platform they're on, because there's so much value. Like in your messy bits, there's someone there that needs that. To kind of go like, oh, it's okay for me to have messy bits now. There's hope that I will, there's some sort of healing, some sort of transformation that can happen when you don't even, they're just messy bits at the bottom of my feed. Hopefully no one will see it, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, at every stage, someone needs exactly where we are.
Yeah.
Right? And this is one thing that breaks my heart about people who want to be healers, be speakers, be authors, whatever, and they wait until they think they're good enough. But there's someone that needs to hear what you have to say, how you have to say it in that phase. And there's a whole audience that you're missing. And if you wait until you get to where you're good enough, you're going to have an audience and they're going to need to hear what you have to say, but you missed all of the people along the journey.
Yes.
Right? Like, I'm sure it's the same for you, but the clients that I worked with when I started this business, 13 years ago, needed very different things than the clients I'm working with now, because that's what I could give them. So the ones that were attracted to me were the ones that needed what I had to give. And as I have shifted and evolved, my clients have shifted and evolved. But every single client I had was of equal value.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah.
different.
And I think this kind of touches on another interesting thing that happens to some of us where um, we feel like we're floating from one thing to another. We can't stick with something. And I often hear, and this was maybe still is me, where you get bored with something, right? It feels like you're bored with something, so you move on to something else. But then you have family and friends saying, "Oh my God, just pick something already. Like grow up, or you take responsibility. Like you got to choose something." And I don't even want to go into like how bad this is for our teenagers when they're forced to pick that path in high school, right? And they think it's like the whole world resides, and they have to make this big decision now. But even for adults, clients, and then you feel bad because they're like, well, I don't actually know what I'm good at because I keep hopping like a bee from flower to flower. What do you think about this?
So I think what you're describing is absolutely me. First of all,
Me
I
too.
never stick with anything for too long. And I'm constantly changing in my business. I'm changing what I call myself, the services I offer, what I charge, how I show. And I don't even warn people. I just do it. I
Yes.
just go to the website one
Oh
day,
my God,
everything's
soul
different.
sister. Yes.
And the thing that about that is that it's me following my joy, my purpose, right? I believe that's what all of our purpose is to just explore ourselves basically. And that when we do that, that's how we affect others in positive ways and how we give each other permission or we help each other. And it's so important to do that because I'm having, honestly, I'm struggling to even put this into words, like just the energy around this. I wish more people would give themselves permission to just jump around. Like, who said that being one thing was better? This is
Yeah.
a lie. This is an opinion that someone somewhere said, and we're all eating it, right? We're all
Mm.
drinking the Kool-Aid and going, okay. And then we're judging ourselves for not falling into alignment with what is expected of us. That will dim your light. That will snuff out your magic. And I don't know, I'm so many different things. And I tell you, we're going to have a conversation next year and I'm going to be doing something different.
But I love that. But see, I actually really strongly believe that it's not like the reason, like the you becoming bored with something is the final sort of step that goes, all right, that's enough now. You have done your work in this field with these people, these are the people that were supposed to come and get from you this. Now take that energy that you still have, but pour it into something else, right? And when you
Well,
pour it into that,
exactly.
yeah, and because you're bringing that excitement again, that joy, that bliss, I love it. This is my passion. That doesn't mean that this other thing wasn't your passion. That project is completed now. That's how I see it. We're done with this for now. Let someone else step into the light now, and you go this way and bring that joy into you, because when you bring that joy into this new thing, when it's completely new, it's just a different aspect of it, you're bringing in the energy that is needed to help those people, or to help,
Yes.
even if it's just creating something, posting on Instagram, and people watch it and get inspired, right? Like, it doesn't have to be a service, it doesn't have to be. So I always feel like, and I agree so much with you, that it's just an opinion that we have to finish university, become X, work there till we get retired, get a watch, and then that's it. Your life is done. Like, I feel that we're meant to, and especially I find that souls that are younger to Earth, they're like the little kids in a toy store for the first time at Toys R Us. They come in, they're like, oh my God, I want to play with this. Oh my God, there's a teddy bear. Oh my God, there's a bike, right? Whereas older souls who have been here around the block a few times, they kind of walk in and go like, I've done this already. Let me stay with this for a little bit. Let me work on this for a little bit. And then they move on. So they still move around, but the movements are maybe slower. So perhaps they can stay with something for longer, right? And then they move on to something. Or perhaps they shift, they go from Reiki to Tarot as opposed to Reiki to horse riding instructor, right? Whereas younger souls, they're here, they want to explore, they want to play with this. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to play. And anyone who tells you need to focus on something is very sad. It's their opinion,
Yeah.
right? Like you
It's
said.
there. It's their issue is what it is, because
Mm,
they felt that they didn't have the freedom to
mm,
do that. And the way that I kind of view it is almost like lily pads, right? So I don't even think that it's I have this thing and then I'm done and I get rid of it. But like I jump onto this lily pad and I play there, and maybe I paint on it or whatever. And
yeah,
then when I'm ready to jump to the next lily pad, it's bringing me forward in my evolution, forward in my journey. I'm expanding and
yeah.
building upon. So it's not like sitting on this lily pad and painting was a waste of my time, because I got some, let's say, some creativity out of it. And now I'm going to go into marketing. And people say, well, there's no connection. But the creativity that I explored and really pulled out of myself in painting, I'm now going to have a totally new view of marketing. And I'm going to bring something that I couldn't have if I didn't stay and paint for a while. Does that
Mm.
make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Or you would have gone through other longer maybe and ended up
Right.
at marketing. Like who
If
knows?
I
But
thought, oh, I'm going to be in marketing, so I better go to school and I better
yeah,
work with the best mentors and I better do this, again, it would be end up on that lily pad, but it wouldn't be as fun a journey,
yeah, nothing is ever
right?
wasted. Absolutely nothing is, and you articulate always so well, like even some stuff that I can't put into words, but I'm like, I'm feeling the energy, and I'm like, so you nailed it again, Mel, because I just don't ever think anything is wasted unless you decide this was a waste of time. You've made that decision that this was a waste of time. You choose to see it as a waste of time. But like for example, I did so many different things, right? And I can see now that the energy that I've been that is coming through for me is being here of service and making people happy, bringing them that joy, bringing out, like, that lightness, that love. But I did it through childcare. I did it as eyelash extensions, right? And creating that experience there. I did it working for someone, in office. I did it for someone, at a supermarket. It doesn't matter the title or the activity that you do, really does not essentially matter as long as you're enjoying it. That's the whole thing. But it's the energy, right? Like what did you bring into this, right? Because you can be a beautician because you want to make people beautiful, and then someone else, well, that's very vain. Yeah, but what if you're bringing out, what they already feel, right? Like, or don't even know, right? And that could be your mission. And then you go and work with children and you bring their beauty out in that aspect. And then you decide to work with animals, and whether you are a pet groomer or whatever, you bring joy to these animals because you will give that energy from an honest place, not a place, oh, there was nothing else to do, so I became a pet groomer because you got to make a living. Like, how does that
Right,
feel? That doesn't feel good. And
right.
pets and kids always know, so
Oh,
they
they
know
do.
when we're doing
Yeah.
something out of stifled place of I have to do this,
Hmm.
and sometimes you have to do something because you need to do something, but as long as you know that doesn't define it, it's not forever, it doesn't have to be forever, it's again perhaps a stepping stone, it's a learning experience, it's part of that journey that you have. Nothing is
Yeah.
permanent and forever.
And I would say too that nothing is wrong. So a couple examples that I'm thinking of when you're mentioning about doing the lashes and how people might say that was vain, but you're bringing out their inner beauty. But what if you just want to make them look good?
Yeah, there's
That's a
yeah,
valuable pursuit.
yes,
Maybe it makes you joyful,
yeah,
look like $1,000,000.
yeah,
Follow your joy. There's no judgment
yes,
around that,
there's no
right?
judgment.
And the other thing is, I know a lot of people listening, be like, oh, yeah, it's easy for them to say. Like, I hear that all the time. It's easy for
Yeah.
you to say. No, it's not easy for us to say. However, I would love to just touch on the fact that it's also okay to take a job that you don't love, that doesn't bring you joy, because, and the example that I'm thinking of is I worked in banking for almost 10 years, did not love banking, but I loved having Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 as my job. So I could have my evenings and my weekends to myself. I loved
Mm.
having a steady, regular paycheck. I always knew money was going to be in the bank. I loved having benefits that I didn't have to worry if anything happened. All of my medical expenses will be covered. And at that point in my life, those were the priorities that made me feel good. So
Good to
that
know.
was a valid choice.
Yes.
And when I got to a place in my life where I didn't need that security so much. I didn't need to have regular hours. I was more comfortable with not knowing if I was going to get paid that week.
Yeah.
Then I could shift my priorities to I want to do something that has meaning and that brings me more joy. But it doesn't mean that working in banking was not as valuable or as aligned as doing
Yes.
what we do now. It's just, again, you can't compare to the person next to you.
Yes. And the thing
Whatever it
is,
is,
you're changing, right? You've changed.
yes,
You've changed, and you've acknowledged that change by making a change that fitted the new you,
yeah,
right? Better. Whereas I think it's incredibly sad if we feel we need to stay with something, even though we're changing and we're no longer seeing even any positives in it, but we feel because of our parents, because of this, because of whatever expectations, we need to stay stagnant because we never are. The being inside you is changing all the time and evolving. You're
yes.
forcing your foot into a shoe that is too small and you're trying to walk in them, and that doesn't feel good. So I
Yeah.
feel
And
like, yeah, it's acknowledging like you and making that change, right? It's like when it was
I think
time.
it's so important what you said about how you're looking at what your parents think or what your friends think or what society thinks or what the person on Instagram is telling you. That's when we get stuck. That's when I would say it's not an aligned choice. I wouldn't say it's bad or wrong, but there is absolutely a better choice to make, because if you want to have success in your life, however you brand that, right? That's going to look different for all of us. It has to come from here. It has to come from inside. It has to come from you. And if you continue to make decisions in your life based on other people's opinions,
Mm.
you will constantly be on that long, heavy, dark road.
Mm, yes, yes. Oh, good words. Good words to kind of capture this. Although I do want to ask, is there
Yeah.
anything else that we should have touched on that I didn't lead us into?
Oh, well, I mean, we always go exactly where we need to go, right? I truly believe that. And like,
I
we
did.
don't, for those people who don't know, we don't prep these conversations. We don't have notes.
No.
Just sit down and start talking.
No.
And the reason why we can do that is because number one, we trust.
Yeah.
We trust that whatever comes out of these mouths is going to be exactly what is needed to be heard by even one person,
Yeah.
right? So we just trust. The second thing I think that is really important is to find the gold, find one positive thing in every situation you're in, because that's going to raise your vibration and it's going to bring in more positive things to help you find that joy, that pleasure. And then finally, again, it has to come from within if you want to have true success. So follow your gut as much as you can. And I'd say if you do that, you trust that you're being provided for, you're going to find something positive wherever you are now, as hard as it
Mm.
is, and then follow your gut. That is the path, the lighter path, the shorter path, the more pleasurable path.
Mm, I love that. And I think I like the way you describe decisions as aligned or not aligned, because that takes away the judgment around it, like positive,
Exactly.
negative, good or bad. It's just, it's either aligned with your being or it's not aligned with your being. And what you said, Mel, about listening to your gut, for what I found is another easier way if you're not sure whether you're having a gut feeling about something, maybe then focus on what brings you that bliss and happiness. You know, like if you have to make two decisions, then you're like, well, what is the right decision? Feel into that first decision. Does it feel like that bliss and happiness? Then does it feel aligned? Then focus on the other one and just see. And very much like Mel said, there is no right or wrong. You can't really fuck this up.
You can't.
No. And what I love about you, Mel, I have to say this because there's very few people in my circle that are so free from judgment and have this energy about them where you know you're always okay with them, you're always safe with them,
Oh,
and no matter what you decide to do, um, you know that you will be always accepted. There's very few people like that. Um, And generally, you know, when we say, okay, I can't say this, I can't share this, or, you know, I'll be judged, or my family is going to judge me. And we have this fear of being abandoned, right? That when we make a decision that no longer feels in cahoots with our family, or what our family wants, or our friends want, or believe is right, then everyone's going to leave us. And so to have someone like you who really genuinely, because these are the conversations we're having on Instagram, right? Like this, we
Yep.
didn't, like I said, put this on for the purpose of this podcast. Like I know that this is how you are behind the scenes, because so many times I come into your messages and I'm like, I'm so sorry, I didn't reply, you know, like your message got buried, and you know, and I come with like, I'm sorry, and you're always just, there's no judgment, there's no bloody time, you know, or something,
Yeah.
you know, and you're so accepting, and that's very rare. And I really know
Hmm.
that whether someone's listening as a client or wants to connect, like they will feel so safe with you.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me. I truly appreciate it. And I thought of something too that I would love to share quickly if it's okay.
Yes, please do.
For those people who are struggling with gut decisions, following their intuition, I have a really easy trick that works every time. Get a coin, two decisions. Head is one decision, tail is the other. Flip the coin and it lands. How you feel when you look at that is going to tell you everything.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
That is so good. That tip is also good for when you're using a pendulum, because I find sometimes we get so like we already like we get disappointed when we get the no, or we get disappointed when
Yeah.
we get this answer, right? So the way you feel when you get the answer tells you everything. I love
It
that.
does. Yeah.
Oh, that is a beauty. You always leave us with good gems. This is why you're my resident guest now.
Oh, well, you're my favorite too.
I'm gonna be
I
bringing
think
you
we
back.
I think we bring out the best in each other. I think that's what it
Yes.
is.
And isn't that nice? Isn't that what everyone wants? They want to be in someone's company who makes them feel their true authentic self, not stifled, not bad.
Yes.
So
Yes. And if you can try to show up in your life in that way, even a little bit, you will attract more people and more experiences that are the same.
yes, yes, I can truly vouch for that. I don't have ever any nasty people aside from like, you know, the people that were already in my circle. But
Who will go unnamed.
Girl name. But you know, it's true. I don't ever meet any nasty people, any mean people. You know, it's just amazing, like how like nice people are actually. The people that come to me, you know, whether it's clients, whether it's anyone, like I don't ever have nasty people, mean people. You know, I'm using all these silly words, but anyone who would make me feel, you know, sad or angry or anything, like I don't. So yeah, so that's so much for energy, I think, and just being so connected maybe. But you and I, you know, I still have work to do, and we know that, and we walk the walk, not just talk the talk. So
Yes, we do.
if you want to experience Mel's ukulele or her sessions, I will make sure that we link Mel up in the show notes, and you can go straight to her account, her website, and connect with Mel. Your page is beautiful, by the way. Your Instagram, it's wonderful. It's a beautiful blend
Thank
of
you.
everything. So thank you for being my guest.
Thank you for inviting me.
Nah, always. So everyone, I will be in your ears next year. Next year? Next week. Oh my God. See you.
Don't make us wait a year.
See you.